Hello, Levianistas. Hello, Facebook, and welcome to VIAN TV to a special segment called Gem Talk. In this segment, we're gonna gem talk about garnet, the birthstone for the month of January. My name is Leonardo Kashi. I'm your VIAN TV host, and right next to me, it's Mr. Thomas Back, the Prime Minister of Quality Control at VIAN. I call him the Prime Minister because he's at that level, really. His knowledge and just everything about him. Thomas, how are you today?
I am great, Leonardo. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us again. Always
Happy to be here.
Thank you. Happy New Year to you too. And Happy New Year, but you're really, technically speaking, you're 2 doors down, and it's funny because we just want to do this just because of social distancing. So I appreciate your time, taking the time to join us here for the Gem Talk. And hopefully we're going to also have Aaron at the later time coming and doing his presentation. So we're going to wait a few more seconds to allow also our viewers and our Levianistas to join. Let's see where we're standing, to join live and make sure they don't miss any of the points that we're talking about during this presentation. So Tom, before we start, anything you want to say?
I'm just excited to be doing another Gem Talk, starting off 2021, and of course leading off with Garnet, birthstone for January, and it's one of my favorite stones. We'll get into why when we start off the talk.
Are you a January baby?
I'm not a January baby. I'm later in the year, but just having worked with garnets for a long time and being able to see and handle and experience, the wonder of the stone, because it's a little bit more varied than a lot of people realize. And from a gemological perspective, it's kind of interesting and exciting.
I think it's going to be interesting, and I think for those of you that you're watching, you're going to learn a lot, and that's the beauty of following and watching VIAN TV. It's about learning, it's about knowledge, it's about knowing, the gemstone that you possess and the gemstone that you may be interested in. And of course, it's part of our mission is to provide you with as much as information possible for you to make a smart decision on your jewelry purchases. So if you see my eyes rolling here, there, it's because we're using a different system here on Facebook where we're allowing remote guests to join us. And I'm also acting as director at the same time. So bear with me. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, Thomas Back is in the house, and he's going to gem talk to us everything there is to know about Garnet, the birthstone for January. So Thomas, take it away.
Thank you, Leonardo. Excited to be here and to be talking about garnets. When we're talking about garnets, we're talking about a gem group. So we're not talking about a single mineral when we're talking about garnets. And that's one of the exciting things about the stone, because it's not just a single homogeneous color. There are a variety of different types of garnets. There are even how I might describe as hybrid garnets, which is something of a combination of the two, which you don't see in other gemstones. So they're a silicate mineral, and although the colors of different garnets are created by different elements in their structure, they do share that similar silicate compound. So they have this similar composition, but they're varied enough to represent a wide range of color and a wide range of bold beauty, because that's what I think of when I think of garnet. You've got bold, rich colors, and they're really gorgeous stones. And in certain varieties, stones that are available in really kind of larger sizes than many other stones without breaking the bank, which is also another extraordinary advantage of garnets. So I should say garnets have been known to man for thousands of years. If we could go to the next slide. Leonardo, are you with me? There we go. Garnet's been known to man for thousands of years, and there are innumerable metaphysical attributes attributed to garnets and legends about garnets, most of which apply to the red varieties, which would be pyrope and almandine and rhodolite, which is one of those. I should start off and say, within the group that is garnets, there are 5 minerals, or I should say, among the 5 are a type called pyrope, almandine, spessartine, grossular, and andradite. And we're not going to talk about all of those today. We're going to talk about 3.5 of those, which represent the most popular. And we'll get into I know I'm going into the weeds right now, but we'll get into the nuts and bolts of that as we move along. But when we're talking about the legends that apply to garnets, we're most often talking about the red varieties. And that's not to say that some of those metaphysical properties don't apply to the others, but because they're newer discoveries, the legends and the stories are most often associated with the older varieties. For example, legend has it that Noah used a garnet to help him steer the ark through the dark night. Garnets are found in jewelry from Egyptian, Greek, and Roman times. And travelers were known to even carry garnets as talismans, as good luck, to protect them, to calm them. I was reading some legends about the calming properties of garnets and thinking that 2020 and 2021 might not be a bad time to be carrying a garnet to calm yourself. And one of the legends was about the light of garnets was that it provided light, as I said, for Noah, but the attribute of garnets that scientists and historians believe attributed those properties to garnet was the high refractive index of garnet. So they're very refractive and reflective. Now, the name garnet comes from the word granite, the Latin word granitus, which means pomegranate. Because, of course, if you look at some of the red varieties of garnets, they have that rich, deep color that's very, very reminiscent of pomegranate. So that's originally where the color was bestowed upon the stone. Ancient tribes in Asia, and garnets are found in various places around the world, particularly the red varieties. So because they are, even though we understand that in Egypt and in Greece, stones were discovered and became legendary. They're ascribed to items, jewelry, and objects of art in Rome. They're also available in Asia, and ancient tribes in Asia believed that the color of the red garnet had an affinity to blood and would be capable of injuring an enemy more easily. They're also rumored to have been used as bullets during battles. So just some interesting lore to go along with a stone that has a very rich history. Legend also has it that garnets can turn dreams into reality. They're believed to be protective, to attract prosperity and abundance. And some people believe that placing 3 garnets on your desk, perhaps those were the quantities that were carried by those travelers I mentioned earlier, but that placing 3 garnets on your desk near your phone or your computer will enhance your business success and give strength to be able to turn big problems into little ones. Today, as I said, we're going to focus on 4 of the most popular kind of garnets in the Levian collection. And those 4 are raspberry rhodolite garnet, pomegranate garnet, Mandarin orange garnet, and forest green savorite garnet. And I'll touch a little bit on the types of garnet that each one is. Now, garnet in general is the birthstone for January and is also the gem for the 2nd anniversary. If we could go to the next slide and the one after that. Thank you. Now, one of the most popular red garnets in the Levian collection is raspberry rhodolite garnet. Now, rhodolite is, I mentioned earlier that garnet can represent something of a hybrid when the elements of several types of garnet minerals are combined. And rhodolite is an example of one of those. Rhodolite is a combination of pyrope and almandine, and because of the minerals that it contains, and is represented when you see a true rhodolite, you know it immediately. It has a beautiful red but purplish color to it. They're really extraordinary stones. They have a lighter tone than certain other garnet varieties. And as I said, it's an intermediary variety between pyrope and almandine. The color is a combination of magnesium and iron in its chemical structure. And as I said, garnet is a silicate mineral. Now, the name rhodolite is derived from the Greek word rhodon for rose-like, which, of course, as I said, if you see a rhodolite, you understand, certainly any of the stones in the Levian collection, you understand the beauty that a rhodolite has. And it's because there are not a large number of red gemstones relative to certain other colors of the rainbow. Rhodolite is, as is ruby, a color that's associated more often, or very often, I should say, with romance and love, because it does have that rich red, sometimes purplish color that is attributed to romance and love and the heart. And it's a stone of inspiration, and also, again, one of the heart and the mind, very calming. Rhodolites also, as I mentioned, are one of the varieties of garnet that are available in larger sizes. So inasmuch as some varieties of garnet are very difficult to come by in larger sizes, rhodolite is not one of those. And again, rhodolite is available in very rich, deep colors that make it exceptionally suitable for center stones. So you can see the examples that we show here. It's an extraordinary stone. Some people confuse them with rubies sometimes, but they're nowhere near the price that rubies are, but they do have a beautiful, bold color. One of the other things that I should mention is pretty much across the board, the stones we're talking about today are what's known as type 2 clarity stones. Now, GIA has several different classifications for the characteristic clarities of colored gemstones. Type number one being a stone that could that is readily and easily available with no or few inclusions visible on the inside. Type 2 is a stone that sometimes has inclusions visible on the inside. And type 3 is a stone that frequently has inclusions or birthmarks visible on the inside of the stone. An example of a type 3 would be an emerald, because you often see the birthmarks in an emerald. I like to call them birthmarks because stones some people shy away from stones that have inclusions. I don't think of them inclusions because they did happen when the stone was created. And someone said if a baby was born with a birthmark, you wouldn't throw it away. I think of gemstones the same way. The inclusions that they have inside them are natural, and but in the case of this type 2 gemstone, rhodolite, I would say that because of the painstaking work that our team does to select and sort and purchase stones in the marketplace, very few of those are going to have the kind of inclusions that would attribute them to a type 2 stone. My work at Levian, I've seen the people here are gem experts, and the stones we have are a cut above what you'll ordinarily see in the marketplace, particularly for garnet. Primary sources of rhodolite are Madagascar and Mozambique, and though some deposits of rhodolite have been found in Brazil, India, Norway, the US, and Sri Lanka, those are not commercially viable sources for rhodolite, but the primary sources of Madagascar and Mozambique are. So if we could go to the next slide, we will move on to pomegranate garnet, which is Levian's pomegranate garnet is a garnet known as almandite, as I had mentioned earlier. That is one of the minerals within the garnet group classification. Almandite, or almandine, as it's sometimes referred to, is the name of it is said to have been derived from the writing of Pliny the Elder, who was an ancient gem expert and writer, who wrote of a stone calling from an Asian town called Alabanda, because some people sometimes make the mistake or thinking that almandite is somehow associated with the nut almonds, which are brown, and of course there's no connection there, but even though the pronunciation is similar. But to clarify, the name almandite is attributed to that town called Alabanda. Almandites are one of the more ancient garnets that are attributed to many of the legends that accompany garnets. The color obviously is very close to what you might expect of a pomegranate, and the sizes are very often the rough. When you see the rough, it's not hard to imagine that they are pomegranate seeds. So just a very interesting note as to how they got their name. In Europe, almandites were often used in Victorian pieces. I remember my mother had an old Victorian piece that she mistakenly called, when I was first introduced to pieces of jewelry, she called it a bloodstone, which of course is an entirely different stone. It's not even close to garnet, but her association with garnet was of the heart and with blood because of the rich color. But almandites have been cut for hundreds and thousands of years and have been put in Victorian jewelry, Bohemian jewelry, often in jewelry with many stones, creating like fields of color, of red color. And like a seeds of a pomegranate, they sparkle and they retain their rich red color. And today too, garnets are popular because of their availability, their pricing, and the boldness of their unmistakable color.
I have to tell you, Thomas, that looking at a gemstone, and this is just the beginning of the actual presentation, and I'm sure you're going to start getting more technical, but you know, I've been in this industry for over 35 years, been with Levian almost 28 years, and garnet for decades of my career was never regarded to be a very important gemstone. But it's funny how Levian has really brought so much of that quality and that cut and the facet and the right color into the jewelry, mixing it up with the strawberry gold and mixing it up with the chocolate diamonds. And that for a good decade of my career at Levian, it was the #1 selling gemstone at Levian. And a funny thing, if you look in the 70s and the 80s and the 90s, if you walk into a jewelry store and you ask, do you have any garnet? A typical jewelry store, family owned, they would say, yes, we have them in the back of the shop, in the back of the store in the corner. They may have 3 or 4 pieces with very simple design because they thought, people will always care about those particular precious gemstone. But it's because of all the influence that Levian has brought into the market that really has created a soaring popularity that has become our #1 national best-selling stone for, I think, 10 years. I mean, Eddie Levian can give you the more accurate information, but I know that raspberry rhodolite garnet is just so beautiful, especially the way we set it and we mount it. And now with the history and all of this knowledge, it's becoming even more important for us. So thank you so much, by the way.
And I have to say, one of the things that the Levian family has done, because, and you've heard Aaron say this before, the focus on the cut of the colored gemstones, because the cut of colored gemstones is not, there isn't a particular standard as there is for there's not a universal standard for the cut of colored gemstones as there is for diamonds, because when you're looking at a diamond, the laboratories will even give it a cut grade. But the cut of colored gemstones is so important because the ability of the stone to blossom and yield the optimum amount of color is incredibly dependent, and of course its brilliance too, because of its reflection and refraction, is hugely dependent upon its cut. And for example, when you're looking at an almandite that is poorly cut, some of them look so dark you could mistake them for black. And since I've joined the Levian company, I've noticed that because there is such an incredible focus on the cut and the make of colored stones, and our team of buyers and sorters scrutinize the stones to make sure that nothing that's selected for our finished pieces has those poor cuts. Those are eliminated from the lots, and only the stones that have the optimum cut are used in our finished pieces. And it makes a world of difference in the color that you see, because colored stones will either get washed out or become dead and too dark to really appreciate their brilliance if they're not cut right. And that's one of the things that Levian does better than practically any other jeweler that I'm aware of. So I back to the issue of almandite and Levian pomegranate garnet, just as do rhodolite garnets, the raspberry rhodolite. pomegranate garnets are also available. They do occur in larger sizes. So it's not, a 10 karat stone is not an extraordinary find in terms of the pomegranate garnet. They're available and accessible. And as I said, because of the focus that Levian places on the cut of the stone, that's part of why you recognize that the marketplace has brought, and retailers have brought garnet forward, because when a stone is beautiful rather than just an also ran, people take note, and it's just extraordinary, because the almondites that you see in Levian pieces are as beautiful as any colored stone you'll ever see. Primary sources of pomegranate garnet, and Aaron will expound on the currently active sources and those sources that are active and opportune for Levian. But primary sources are and have been Mozambique, India, Sri Lanka, and Brazil. And there are deposits, however, that have been located in Zambia, Nigeria, and Namibia. So as I had mentioned earlier, certain varieties of garnets are available in numerous places around the world. Now, if we can go on to the next variety, Levian Mandarin Orange Garnet. Now, Levian Mandarin Orange Garnet is a stone that all I can say is, if you're wearing an orange garnet, you're not shy. This stone pops, and they're actually quite beautiful and unusual, because orange is not a color that you see frequently in natural gemstones. And these stones, each of the ones that I'm talking about today, are not treated. So it would be wrong of me to assert that they are treated, but as I said, orange is not a color that you ordinarily see in a natural gemstone. So that's one of the attributes that makes Levian Mandarin Orange Garnet really kind of unique. The name of the stone itself, gemologically speaking, is Spessartite or Spessartine. There's a little bit of, let's say, debate within the gemological community, even in volumes from GIA. I've been reading information about whether it should be called Spessartite or Spessartine, and even volumes from GIA refer to the stone as one or the other. So I'm not sure that either is necessarily wrong, but in any case, again, I'm getting out into the weeds. The name Spessartite is derived from the town in Bavaria of Spessart, where it was originally discovered in the mid-1800s. Now, one of the distinguishing characteristics of Spessartite is the element manganese, it gives it its color, as opposed to magnesium or iron, which are responsible for the redder varieties that I had mentioned earlier of raspberry rhodolite and of pomegranate garnet. Now, spessartites, collectible spessartites, have been found in places like Virginia and California. I found it very interesting to learn that that gemstones have been found domestically in the U.S., but those are not commercially. They weren't at the time, and they certainly aren't now commercially viable sources, and they've largely been depleted. They're probably not unlike the diamond finds that you hear about in Arkansas every once in a while. Not exactly suitable for large-scale mining, but every now and then a stone is found. But that's because spessartite is a rarer form of garnet. It's not commonly found in larger sizes. The sizes that we talked about and pomegranate garnet and raspberry rhodolite would be quite unusual. The larger sizes would be quite unusual to find in a spessartite, which aren't frequently found over 1 carat. Not to say that they might not be available, but they're not available in volumes. Current sources for spessartite include Namibia, Nigeria, Mozambique, and Tanzania. And the scarcity of this gem continues to increase. I was reading about the sources, and every time I looked at the current market conditions at one source, and again, Aaron will expound on this, but the suggestion was that this source is being depleted, and perhaps another source that had been discovered might yield more. But the question always remained as to whether that source was sustainable. So spessartite that makes it a rarer stone, and you never know when the source will run dry, and or whether another alternate source will be located. And on to the fourth of the varieties of garnet that we're going to be talking about today is Savorite, which is a total departure from the other varieties that we talked about, particularly in terms of color. Savorite garnet was discovered in 1967 by a British geologist by the name of Campbell Bridges, and he was in northeast Tanzania when he came across a strange potato-like nodule of rock. Some garnet nodules are referred to, if you ever hear or read of or hear the word carbuncle, is a word that's used for certain cuts of garnet. But this geologist, Campbell Bridges, came across some beautiful green fragments that were in the ground that he was surveying, and he had them tested and found out that the mineral he had discovered was grossularite. Now, there are different colors of grossularite. There are yellow varieties and others, but the richest, most beautiful in my mind variety of grossularite is Savorite. And Savorite is a single source garnet. It comes, as I mentioned, it's named after the Sabo National Park, which I believe is in Kenya, but very close. It's right across the border from Tanzania, next to another single source gem. It's not far at all from the town of Arusha, which Levianistas will know is the home of tanzanite. So, not to be confused, obviously Savorite is a beautiful green color and tanzanite is a violetish purple, and of course not a garnet. But Savorite is the green variety of garnet in the grossularite species. Like other garnets, Savorite's a silicate mineral, and it forms within metamorphic rocks, and its rareness comes from its specific need for more unusual chemistries for it to form. And as I had mentioned, if you could go to the next slide, you'll see that the Sabo National Park is located just across the border from Mount Kilimanjaro and Arusha, which we know as the trading home of much of the world, or all of the world's tanzanite. So very interesting from a gemological perspective to find two single source gemstones within such a close geological proximity to one another. So if we could go to the next slide. This is just sharing some images of some of the more extraordinary pieces that Levian has made using Savorite. The green is a rich, vibrant green. Some people confuse them with emeralds, but frankly, I think Savorite's a step above, just if for no other reason than the clarity, because you'll notice when you see a Savorite that its clarity is most often higher than an emerald, though you won't see Savorites often in the same sizes that you do see emeralds available. If we could go to the next slide. I just want to get into the wear and care, gemological properties of garnet. The garnet ranges from, depending upon the variety, 6.5 to 7.5 in hardness. So it is a reasonably hard stone. Again, Levianistas will know that hardness is gemologically defined as a resistance to scratching. So as opposed to resistance to breakage. Resistance to breakage is what we refer to as toughness. So garnet is a reasonably tough stone, reasonably hard stone, needs to be protected from sharp blows, cannot be worn in a way that subjects it to abrasion. So it does need a reasonable amount of care. Comes from the cubic or isometric crystal system. It has what's called a vitreous to subadamantine luster, which means it's glassy to almost diamond-like. Vitreous means glassy, and adamantine means diamond-like, and subadamantine means just below adamantine. So that's what gives garnets its ability to take a good cut and polish. And one of the things that's very important to Levian when we're focusing on buying is the cut and the polish of the stones. That's one of the things you'll notice that sets Levian apart from other things you may see in the market. None of the garnets that I've mentioned are routinely enhanced, so they're not put through the treatments that certain other stones may be. So that's just one curious note to make note of, curious attribute to make note of. The refractive index, as I mentioned, is high on garnets, and you'll see they range from 1.71 to 1.89. Specific gravity 3.47 to 4.15. And then again, the primary sources are available in numerous places around the world, with the exception of Savorite, which is a single source gem. And in order to care for your garnet, your Levian garnet, we recommend only that you clean it with alcohol and a soft toothbrush. Garnets are sensitive to temperature. They should never be cleaned using heat. So steam, a heated ultrasonic, certainly a boil out. You cannot immerse garnets in those type of cleaning solutions. Again, they should be protected from sharp blows, banging against doorknobs, doors, any kind of handling. They need to be handled with care and should be protected from abrupt temperature changes. So again, from very cold to very hot, certainly shouldn't be exposed to and shouldn't be immersed in anything hot. And with a reasonable amount of care and regular cleaning, your garnet will last a lifetime. And with that, till we get to question period, I think that's what I've got about garnets.
Thank you so much, Tom. A round of applause. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I have one question from Terry. She's asking, are all garnets color changing? If they're all, are actually garnets color changing? She's asking, what is the term for that? I forgot. Is it pleochroism?
Garnets are not pleochroic. So
garnets are not pleochroic, Terry. Garnets.
Now there are color change garnets.
Yes.
But they are specifically referred to as color change garnets. But that's again a different mineral, because under the umbrella of what a garnet is, there's a variety of minerals, and garnet is the group. It's not even a species; it's the group. So.
All right. I hope, Terry, that answers your question. Tom, thank you very much. Tom is going to be on standby with us, and we're going to bring in now our friend Aaron Hakimian. Aaron, are you there? You're going to come in just a few seconds. Hello, my friend. Hello.
Myself.
Nice to see
Hi, everyone.
you. Thank you. Happy New Year. Happy New Year. Thank you for joining us.
Pleasure, as always.
Do you see me? I'm being sandwiched by two geniuses. I'm being sandwiched by two experts. This is such a cool thing. Aaron, we appreciate so much you being with us today. And I have your presentation ready. So Tom, you're going to be on standby, and Aaron, you're going to take it away. You're going to give us a little bit more about what's going on. Everybody's saying hello, Aaron, hello, because we have missed you. You haven't joined us for maybe the past 2 Gem Talks or 1 Gem Talk. I don't know.
It's not fun to go after Tom on these Gem Talks, so I've been trying to, I've been shy about it. So if he lets me go first next time, I might join you more often. But Tom is a wealth of knowledge, and amazing to hear from him. Every time he speaks, I learn something new. So I think it's more important to have Tom lead these Gem Talks than me. That's for sure. I don't think they will enjoy my presentation as much as
we love your presentation. We love to hear what is going on, especially with this fantastic color gemstone that Levian offers. And both of you are so involved from the moment of production, from quality control, from the gemstone, from the cuts, from the design, from all aspects. It's incredible. And we are live right now. If you're just joining, we are live on Levian TV, live from the Levian headquarters. We could technically speaking be in one room, but because of social distancing, we rather be distant from each other and make sure that we're safe and healthy. So we're all in different offices in the same building. So Aaron, I'm going to prepare you. I have your presentation ready. So I'm going to play as a director in the back. All you have to do is just next slide, please.
No problem. Yeah.
Thomas, we're gonna say goodbye for just a few minutes, and we're gonna have you back in case we have any more questions. Thank you so much.
Okay.
So
thank you.
Yeah, part of what I'm going to discuss is an overlap on Tom's presentation, but we'll go through it anyway. I think it's important to understand that a lot of the gemstones that we speak about are not necessarily gemstones that Levian focuses on. We're just giving you an overview, but garnet, specifically rhodolite garnet, is one of the cornerstones of our production. We've been very strong with rhodolite. It's a stone that many of our collectors are passionate about, and it's a very, very beautiful stone. Stones like Savorite, because of the limitation and because of the fact that it's a little bit softer, we use as accents more than as the focal point or a center stone of production. Spessatite, Tom alluded to them. There are not many orange stones in the world. Spessatite is a phenomenal replacement or substitute for a sapphire when we're trying to make multicolor pieces or rainbow pieces, which are very much in demand right now. So versatile. Garnets are definitely versatile, and I'll show you. I'll give you a little overview of what's available, what we do, and how we use these stones. So Tom described the sourcing. I think the majority of this material is African right now, especially Mozambique and Tanzania. Brazil has always historically been, you know, the hub of especially semi-precious stones, but I think Africa has kind of taken that title away from Brazil. There is beautiful material coming out of especially Mozambique these days. Next slide, please. So rhodolites are a very specific color, and it's what we use the most, and it's what our guests and our collectors love the most. Not to take anything away from other spessartite, other garnets, obviously, but rhodolite is a versatile stone in the sense that it has a range of sizes where Savorite doesn't. Savorite comes mostly in smaller sizes, like a half carat and below, I would say, maybe even smaller. Every once in a while, we do see a large Savorite, but it's priced like a ruby or like a fine sapphire. So it's kind of like a rare thing to see. But rhodolite has that versatility. So we can talk a little bit about rhodolite and the other similar garnets. So rhodolite colors have become quite scarce in the last, I would say, 2-3 years, to the point that we're seeing a lot of other garnets being substituted and sold as rhodolite, which we find kind of unethical. We don't really agree with that. You know, you cannot sell a red garnet or an almondite as a rhodolite, because rhodolite has a certain provenance and cachet, and other garnets, as beautiful as they are, they shouldn't be sold as rhodolite. Grape garnet, inconsistent supply, mining is sporadic. They keep finding pockets, and we see material, you know, show up, then you know, it kind of disappears. So it's kind of hard for us to get traction with it and put it in programs and bring it to you guys. But you know, a special request, we have some stock and we can make it. Pomegranate garnet is probably the easiest right now. There is an abundance of material, very beautiful, big sizes at quite reasonable prices. So these are the three major red, or families of red garnets. Next slide, please. I think it's important to show you so you can visualize what the difference is between these garnets that I'm talking about. Pomegranate garnet is the top row, the heart shapes, checkerboard cuts, but you see the deep red color within them. There's a little bit of range, but they don't have that, you know, violety, purplish tone or hue. So it's more, I would call it a, you know, maybe a dark burgundy or red. True raspberry rhodolite is the middle row, especially the middle stone in the middle row. You see the colors, you see the shading, you see that little bit of fuchsia in it, you see that little bit of violet in it. You know, when you move the stone, when you turn the facets around, you see these different colors that are just stunningly beautiful. Grape garnet, the bottom row, again, sporadic mining, very similar to rhodolite, except you don't have that little fuchsia touch in it. You have the more purple or more lavender colors sometimes, but you don't see the fuchsia in it. And again, sporadic. We cannot get traction with it, but we have some stock, and we would be happy to make something for one of our guests if they ask for it. Next slide, please. So I want to just show you how we make the jewelry, how we lay it out, and the thought process that kind of goes through it. The images are the middle image is one of our show specials that we had. It was a multicolor piece, and it was phenomenal. Our guests and collectors seem to love these pieces. You get so many beautiful gemstones in the same piece. It's colorful, it's fun, it's happy. So the way we did this is we use dark spessartite, light spessartite. Dark spessartite is the top row on the right. We use pink sapphire. We use light spessartite, which is the yellow, the third row from the top. We use Savorite Garnet, and we use blue sapphire. And we did them in a pattern that was kind of pleasing and balanced. So it's kind of hard to see it through, but we might have made these layouts on this left 8-9 times until we figured out the correct flow of colors. We always try to follow the colors of the rainbow. So it's a little bit challenging, and just like a simple thing of where to put the blue sapphire and where to put the Spessartite could make a tremendous difference in the price. And we want to always give you the value. So for example, the third row from the bottom, if you look at it, the dark Spessartite is in the center. If we replace that with a blue sapphire of that size, the price would increase. So we have to think through a lot of these things to bring you the best value, but at the same time bring you a very beautiful piece of jewelry. So just to get a sense of how we use these and you know the thought process that goes into it. It's some of these are you know, a simple center stone ring is quite easy, but some of the pieces that we make take a little bit of thought. I also want to show you the next slide, please. This is color change garnet that we sold to one of our guests in a trunk show. This was a 4-carat stone. The image on the left is under under yellow light, under Tom, help me out. I think Tom is offline, but okay. Anyway, the image on the right is.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Incandescent versus fluorescent.
Incandescent light or yellow light. These are like 2700K, 3500K. These are the bulbs that you buy for your house that tend to be a little bit more yellow. So it changes color, and we have other color change stones like alexandrite, which are multiples of this. We have sapphire that changes color, which is multiples of this, but this was like a very beautiful square radiant Asher cut stone, and it changed from bright to this brownish burgundy, you know, beautiful color. So we do have these stones every once in a while. These phenomena stones don't usually last in our inventory. As soon as we get our hands on it, you know, someone kind of grabs it. But they're available every once in a while, and you know, I think it's unique, one of a kind, and in this particular case, it was a great value. It's not, you know, something that, you know, it's not tens of thousands of dollars. So just a little overview of what we do. I also want to show you, if I can, and I don't know how easy this is going to be. I want to show you like a little bit. Let me bring the tray closer because this is not cooperating. Just try to lay a bit of our rhodolite for you, so you see the range of colors. And I don't know if you're gonna be able to see it, but the top row, let me try to put it in focus. The top row is the true rhodolite color. The second row is acceptable. The third row is sort of the colors we don't like and we're trying to reject. So even though, you know, it's quite difficult to get our hands on some of these goods, we're still very selective about the colors and what we put in jewelry. We not only do we care about the color and you know, the trueness of the color, but there's a lot of other criteria that we look for that you might not be aware of, like chips, pits, scratches, things like that we avoid in our jewelry. And Tom is you know, Tom and his team are amazing at that. They, you know, you can have a most beautiful stone, and once it's set, a setter's hand can slip and you can get a big scratch next to the prong. And you know, all day his team is looking at these things under a microscope and making sure that the jewelry is as close to perfect as possible. So just a little overview of our production and what we like to bring to you as our wonderful guests. And on that, I'll give it back to you, Leonardo.
Thank you, Aaron. Thank you so much. First of all, they are loving your Yankee hat, and that was a good touch. And I didn't know you were a Yankee fan.
Oh, die hard. Whatever you do, don't talk bad about my Yankees.
And also, some propose that if you can share that tray that you had, they would like the tray. I don't know if they want it with the stone or they want it without the stone, but
which tray? The
one that you were showing with all the garnets.
Oh, you want to see it again?
Yeah, why not?
Sure,
so
why not?
I actually find it amazing how there is such a big variety for this birthstone. I mean, I don't think there are so many gemstones as among the birthstones, that you can offer such a variety and being the same gemstone like the Savorite Garnet, Raspberry Garnet, Pomegranate, or Spessatite Garnet. It's incredible.
So let me see if I can get it a little bit better focus.
Oh, it's good. Yeah, it's fine.
So the top row, the 4 stones, I guess it's on the bottom right now. Those are the colors that we look after. And then you see, like on the bottom, when you go up top. Let me turn this because I'm confusing myself.
Hold on, let me just 1 second. We're gonna.
No, you're good. You're good. So now it's the top row. Okay. Now I think you can get a sense of it. If I can hold the camera evenly, then you'll see it. So the top row right now is the true colors that we look for. And as you look on the bottom, they get a little red and they get a little bit sleepy. Some of them, they lack luster or they're poorly cut, and those are the things we reject. And those are the things that we don't put in production. So those are stones that we either, sell or we repolish, or for whatever the reason is, we don't use them in production. We're very, very selective in our production. So that's just.
So if you're wondering, like Vanessa, if you're wondering how come those stones are not moving, basically Aaron is a Jedi, so he has control over the stone. He can move things around the way he needs and wants. So. All right, thank you so much, gentlemen. Thank you for your time. I wanted to see if Vittoria is inviting you to Tampa to see Derek Jeter house in Tampa. So
nice
connection apparently.
Nice. I might take her up on that. I might take her up on that. Tampa is a great town. We were there for a trade show a while back. It's a fantastic place, very lively and beautiful. So thank you very much. Appreciate the invitation.
So gentlemen, thank you so much for your time. This has been incredible. You guys are a fountain of knowledge. It's incredible. Just, spending half an hour with each one of you and being able to discover things that are so different and new. We're loving the history of the gemstone. We're loving all the technicality that Thomas constantly shares with us, and the knowledge and his total devotion for Levian is incredible. His precision and everything, and Aaron, your knowledge in general and your current knowledge of what's going on in the market is absolutely incredible. My favorite, if you ask me, is the Savorite Garnet. It's the green garnet. I love that color. I've always had of all the garnets, so which one is yours? Let us know. All right, gentlemen, thank you so much. At the next one, we appreciate your time. Thank you for everything.
Bye, everyone. Thank you for joining. Bye.
Arrivederci, grazie. And ladies and gentlemen, we thank you also. Thank you so much for taking the time for being with us here on a special Gem Talk edition about garnet. And if you ever want to watch this again, you can certainly watch it here on Facebook Live. We're going to leave it on our timeline, so you can watch it again. You can share it with your friends. These are great topics to talk, especially for those of you that love jewelry the way you do. So thank you, Levianistas. Have a wonderful rest of the day, and see you tonight for another edition of Live Boutique with some brand new designs you definitely are going to love. It's going to be tonight at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. Thank you so much. Arrivederci presto. My name is Leonardo Kashi. Pleasure to be your Levian TV host, and thank you for watching. Ciao.